Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Pointy Not Sharp. Today we're taking a look at a German World War II dress bayonet. Now these are primarily a ceremonial bayonet and they don't serve any functional or practical use, and they weren't issued, they were privately bought, and the quality of them comes down to the pocketbook of the soldier that had to purchase them. Now they're made in the style to fit the Kar98K, or your German Mauser bayonets are all sort of interchangeable a little bit. But many of these weren't even really made to fit rifles at all. They were purely ceremonial. Lots of them didn't even have mortises or press buttons. And that's kind of the case with what we have here. I'll get into that shortly. Now, these were made by virtually every knife maker. Well, not every knife maker. A huge number of knife makers in Germany leading up to and during World War II. Primarily all of the blade makers out of Zollingen, which is, of course, our famous little town for arms production back to the 14th century. World renowned for craftsmanship and their blades. This particular one here is made by Alexander Koppel in Zollingen. That's a pretty common manufacturer. One of the more common ones I've come across, actually. So I'll pull it out. We'll have a look at the markings. I'll go in reverse order. Usually I'll look at the markings towards the end. Now, the markings on these, on this particular example, is pretty crap, but bring it a bit closer. You'll see we have a set of scales with a C at the top, left and right respectively, and an S at the bottom in between the two scales for Zollingen. It's got a bit of tarnishing. The blade's not the best condition, so it's a bit tough to see. You also note I got a 204 marking on the crossguard. I don't know what that's indicative of. That wasn't there coming out of the factory, so who knows. It's also on the scabbard. Now, straight out of the factory, or when you purchase these, they come in a number of different configurations, and what you get largely comes down to what you can afford or what you're willing to pay. So what we have here is sort of the economy or the budget version. More expensive versions will have a much longer blade. They'll have staghorn grips. They might have some kind of etching or acid etching on the blade. This one actually has a fuller, which I believe is more of a premium added extra. Generally, you'll find these with better quality nickeled crossguards and pommels. This one's sort of a crapper quality. I believe it's likely a later war production, because the early ones, they're much nicer to look at, much more aesthetically pleasing. Whether this one's sort of taken on kind of like a bit of a coppery, silvery hue, whether these would traditionally just be a nice bright copper. Further, you might notice the rivets in the grip here are a bit all over the place. They're very poorly placed. There's no other markings on the spine or anything like that. Now this one here, the reason I call it sort of the economy version is it doesn't really have any of the added extras, but it doesn't even have a push button. So the hole where the push button would be has been sealed by something, possibly aluminium, I'm not sure. It still has a mortise, but it doesn't even have a cutout recess on the other side for the push button to push out the other side. Now, initially this scabbard would have been black, sort of a black gloss, so someone has chromed it at some point, nickel plated it at some point. I don't believe that's to do with any kind of ceremonial roll or anything like that. I think that's probably a collector that's done that. Now, there were a couple of these that were issued to certain types of, I won't say troops. So the German police had their own version, and they spared no expense. They got the best of the best. They had the extra long blade, they had all the bayonet features, they had really nice staghorn grips, and they usually had like a 3D metallic German eagle with a swastika underneath it on either side of the grip. They look really, really nice. They're go for a bit more of a premium, unfortunately. I want to get my hands on one. They're the only one of these dress bayonets I really find aesthetically pleasing. The German Fire Brigade similarly also had their own, and the major difference is that their crossguard will have sort of an S shape to it. So the top will be facing forward, and it'll have another quillen facing rearwards. So they're quite easy to spot. They're reasonably common, quite nice again. I'll quickly run through this one. So it's just got a very small false edge, non-sharpened blade, very, very light and non-functional fuller. Like, that's not going to reduce any weight at all, really. That's incredibly shallow, so I think that's just aesthetically put in place. Only the one mark in the ricasso. Rear facing quillen, really, really crap material. Got very small ears here for the muzzle to sit in. Got plasticky grips. I don't think that's Bakelite. That just feels like a really crap, cheap, crude plastic. And yeah, little eagle head pommel. But it's really, really broad and really flat. It hasn't really been milled down either side, so it's not the nicest. Standard scabbard, just stamped sheet metal. It's been soldered together. Got a nice little mouth, no markings on it. Retained by one screw, little ball finale, and standard German style frog stud. So my understanding is that these were purchased by soldiers and NCOs, not officers. So ceremonially, an officer has a sword, or even a ceremonial officer's dagger. I've got a couple of videos on those. But soldiers and NCOs had to go out and privately purchase these, and yeah, they were quite little nifty things. Third Reich was obviously a very militaristic society. They loved their style, you know, the Hugo Boss suits, and it was quite popular to spend a bit of money and have a nice little blade on your hip. There's quite a few of these in the collector's market, and yeah, nifty little blades. Anyway, guys, if you know anything more about them that I've missed, or any grievous errors I've made, please comment below and I'll update the description. I might do a few more videos on these when I come across nicer versions, like the police or the fire brigade, or even a really nice example with a nice big etching on the blade, because you find some that have, you know, the big nasty eagle and the bit of script underneath it, or special commemorative ones. A lot of them have been faked and done post-war by collectors. I think there was even a factory that pumped out a stack of them at some stage, so you've got to be a bit careful. But if I come across some nice ones, I might do another video or two on these down the track. But yeah, that's all I've got for you today. Thanks for watching.